Hello and welcome to another Back to Jerusalem podcast. I'm Eugene Bach, your host for this time, and I'm coming to you live on delay from somewhere within the borders of China this time. But right now, we have a major focus that I need your help with. So if you're listening to this podcast, please consider joining us this Christmas and helping the church in Nigeria. Right now, we are seeing a genocide in Nigeria, and everything that you are hearing about Nigeria in the news is wrong. What I'm going to share in this podcast are things about the genocide in Nigeria that will absolutely blow your mind. You can forget everything that you've heard about this not being a genocide, because what I'm about to share will unravel more than what you would ever believe. I mean, even myself, this is not new for us at Back to Jerusalem. I have been working and focusing on the situation in Nigeria for almost a decade. And we have been sounding the alarm for years. Anybody that is used to listening to this podcast, you will know that I've done several podcasts, some of them with pastors from Nigeria in the areas that have been really hit hard by Muslims, and even just doing monologues like I am right now to raise the awareness about Nigeria. And you might be thinking this has nothing to do with me. This has everything to do with you as a believer. This spread and support of genocide in Nigeria goes further than anything that you are reading about in the news, anything that I've even reported about in the news. I just started doing a little digging in the last couple of months, and what I found has just been leading me on rabbit trail after rabbit trail. I've wanted to share about this for a while, but I've actually put it on pause. And the reason why is because I didn't feel like I had a complete picture. And guys, I still don't feel like I have a complete picture, but it's such a web of things that are taking place with the persecution of Christians, the targeting of Christians, the genocide of Christians. There's such a web around the world that unpacking it made me realize just how deep the support for this genocide goes. I'm talking about Christians being killed, supported by the Nigerian government, supported by Western nations, US, Canada, England, the EU, supported by Iran, supported by Hezbollah, even supported by Hamas. Have you heard anything about, whenever you hear about the news of what's happening in Nigeria, there's so many people that are trying to blow this off. Even Christians are trying to say, listen, this is not a genocide. I've gotten personal messages from other Christians around the world that says, Eugene, this is not genocide. It's a complicated situation. It's political, it's environmental, but it's not religious. That is deception. This is all about Christianity. Nigeria already this year has had more than 7,000 Christians killed for their faith, not accidentally, not out of coincidence, specifically targeted for their faith. That's 35 Christians per day being slaughtered in Nigeria. I have one of the most disturbing videos I've shared online. I've even had people within B2J that wish I didn't share it online because it's so brutal. But I feel that it is important. If you decide not to watch it, you don't want to see it, I completely get it. That kind of violence is disturbing and it stays with you. It haunts you. It will show up in your dreams when you're least expecting it. It is a video of Muslims killing Christians that ran out of bullets. And so they picked up a long, blunt metal object. And you can see Muslims beating the brains out of Christians, just smashing them in the head, cracking their skulls. as they die withering on the ground, suffering because of their faith. Reminds me of when I went to Cambodia and I saw the killing fields of Cambodia, and I went there with my son and I showed him what took place when communism first moved in to Cambodia. The Christians were rounded up in Phnom Penh and systematically executed. Their children were too fragile for the Cambodians to waste their bullets on them, because bullets are expensive. So what they would do is they would grab these small babies by their ankles, and they had a killing tree in the middle of the field, and they would swing these babies into that tree to bust their skulls open, to kill them in a cheaper, more financially digestible way than by shooting them with a bullet, because bullets were expensive. Same thing in Nigeria. Bullets are so expensive. So the military, instead of using the bullets on these Christians, would just tie their hands behind their back, put them on the ground, and one by one, we have it on video of their heads being bashed. 35 Christians killed every single day. And the news will tell you, defenders of Islam will tell you, even Christians that are being fooled will tell you, this is not genocide. Oh, you're being silly. This is people fighting for resources. This is a problem over land. This is a dispute among tribes. This is tribal. The reason why this is a genocide of Christianity, I'm going to make very clear. But the reason I'm doing this podcast is because this Christmas, those Christians that are living in danger, we believe it is our responsibility. It is your responsibility. It is the responsibility of the church to rise up and pray for them, support them, stand beside them, be with them during this time. That is why we have Christmas in Nigeria. This is a project that the underground church in China feels very supportive of, that they want to be a blessing for those persecuted brothers and sisters, your brothers and sisters, my brothers and sisters, during this time where we remember the greatest gift that God has ever given the world, the gift of his Son, Jesus Christ. Christmas is the most deadly time of the year in Nigeria, which is why we chose Christmas to be a blessing for those in Nigeria. You can go to our website and find out how to join together with us directly. You can go to the donate button at the top right-hand page of our website, or you can even send funding directly to our office wherever you're listening to this in the world. We have different offices around the world that are able to help with taking funds and support from Christian believers from around the world and getting it to those that need it. And so we are sending funds directly to the church in Nigeria this Christmas, because every week, every single week, we are seeing Christians die again and again. And we know that Christmas is coming. That is the most deadly time of the year, and it shouldn't be. That should be a time of celebration, a time of peace, a time of goodwill towards fellow man. That's why we want to be a message of blessing. Just this last Sunday that passed by, we saw that there were 50 people that were abducted, that were able to escape from their attackers, out of a group of 315 that were kidnapped from a Christian school. They were specifically targeted because they were a Christian school. This was the students, this was the primary students, the secondary students, as well as the teachers and staff members. And just before that, there were at least 2 people that were killed and several worshipers, including the pastors, that were abducted when Muslims attacked a church in a place called Kwara State, not far from the same place where these children and teachers were kidnapped from their Christian school. A church was specifically targeted and attacked. And before that, 25 young girls were kidnapped from a Christian boarding school in Kebbi State. Don't tell me this is not genocide specifically focusing on Christians. Listen, defenders of this genocide are purposefully, whether they're being used as tools, whether they know it or not, they are purposefully muddying the waters and making them murky so that it will be confusing, so that you will even begin to question yourself. Is this really genocide? So before I dive in, let me quickly dispel the lies. Lie number 1 that you're hearing on the news, you're hearing on social media, you're hearing even from maybe some of your Christian friends like I have, family members like I have, that says, this is not Muslim against Christians. This is about resources because Muslims are being killed too, right? You're going to be hearing this lie that Muslims are being killed too. Lie number 1. I sat down and I talked with a pastor in Nigeria about this. I said, Pastor, there are Christians that are saying that this is not genocide because genocide by definition would mean that Christians are being targeted for their faith. But how can we say that Christians are being targeted for their faith when Muslims are being killed too? And he said this to me, which I'll never forget. And it makes the murky waters clear when you hear it from the lips of the pastors that have walked through the persecution themselves. Excuse me. And they said, yes, it is true. Muslims are dying. But they're not targeted. They're being attacked, but they're not being targeted. Christians are being targeted. Muslims are in the way. That's the difference. Muslims are dying too, but they're not the target. They are casualties of genocide against Christians. It's a big, big difference. Well, how do you know that? I asked. And he said, the proof is in the fact that when we as Christians are kidnapped in Nigeria, he told me, they are told, those that are being kidnapped are told, convert and we'll let you go. Muslims aren't being kidnapped. Christians are being kidnapped and being told that all they have to do to be let go is convert. Also, Christian schools and communities are targeted. Muslim communities are not. Muslim schools are not. They may get in the way, but they're not the target. Also, and this is the most important, Christian holy days are the most dangerous in Nigeria. Easter and Christmas. Guys, Christmas last year in Nigeria was a bloodbath. Christians were attacked en masse. Muslims hunted them down. The pastor told me if Christians try to get guns to protect themselves, they are arrested and they are thrown in prison. If they try to protect themselves, they are arrested and they are thrown in prison. Not the Muslims. Lie number 2 that you will hear is that this is about climate change. Well, because of global warming, Water is becoming more scarce, which is interesting, right? Because the whole idea of global warming and the fear of global warming is what? What do you hear all the time about proof of global warming? What's proof of global warming? And I don't want to get into all of this. I'm not a scientist, but I don't need to be a scientist to be able to see what is happening in front of my eyes. I am a student of observation. I don't need a degree for you to tell me what it is that I'm witnessing with my own eyes. One of the problems that we often have in the world is that we allow ourselves to be told by other people that are quote unquote experts about what not to believe that our own eyes are telling us. We have been given the skills of observation, and Christians need to take advantage of those skills that God has given to us that are innate in our very nature. We are capable. That is what science is observation, measurement. You are able to measure activities that are taking place around you, ask questions, test, and discover. Learn and be educated. Oftentimes, education in the West is about making you stupid to what it is that you are observing, to tell you that what you are seeing with your eyes is not really happening. But what is happening is what you cannot see, which is a trick of the enemy. One of the things that we have been told is that if you look at the polar ice caps, they are melting. And that coastal areas are at a threat of being completely flooded out, because as the ice caps melt, the water levels in the ocean go up. Yes or no? Right? That's what we've been told, which would mean that we would have more of the Earth's surface covered in H2O, water. Because the frozen ice caps, which is holding a lot of the surface area of water that we might see if it was melted, are being held up in the form of ice at the polar ice caps. But when they are warmed up, they melt, and that raises the water level in areas all around the world, which makes people scared about, whether the city of New York is going to be drowned out, or coastal cities that are on the water might be drowned out. However, what is being made as an argument against Christian genocide in Nigeria is that because of global warming, because of climate change, there's not enough water in Nigeria. This is an absolute lie. Now, are the areas dry in Nigeria where the Christians are being attacked? Yes. Is there a fight for resources? Yes. Is there a problem with the lack of resources as a result of global warming? No. This is something that you'll hear all the time, that the third world needs help from the first world because the first world put so much carbon dioxide and pollution into the air that it caused global warming. Therefore, the first world owes the third world because of global warming, because the third world is suffering more for global warming than the first world, but the first world is the one that caused it. This is one of the biggest global scams in the world today. What this is a con job to arrange for the most massive transfer of finances and resources from the first world to the third world without a single shot being fired. It's a lie. It's a scam. Why is it a scam? Because of this. The lack of resources is because of stupid management. Management that is made stupid not because the people are ignorant, but because the people are led by an evil spirit. And evil spirits make you do dumb things. Following in the will of God blesses the people of God, where even in the desert, you can turn a desert into an oasis when you are walking in the wisdom of what God has given to his people. Case in point, go to Jordan. Fly from Amman to Tel Aviv, Israel. That flight from Jordan to Israel is a low elevation flight, low altitude. So you're flying at a low altitude. And so most of the flight, especially if you get a window seat, try me, test me, see if I'm lying. Get on a flight from Amman to Tel Aviv or from Tel Aviv to Amman. Because you are at such a low altitude, you'll be able to look out the window if you get a window seat. Just sit and look out the window. From the window, you can see the border of Israel. Because of a wall? Nope. Because of a marking that is standing out, says, hey, this is Israel, this is Jordan? Nope. Because when you are flying over Jordan, it looks like you're flying over the surface of the moon. Barren, desert, nothingness. But as soon as you see Israel, same land, same geography, same desert, no resources. At least Jordan has oil. Israel doesn't even have oil. That's under the ground. Above the ground, it's the same dry, desolate desert area. And yet, as you fly over the border of Israel, you see green pastures, fields that are lush, full of life, and fields and growing fruits and vegetables and running streams of water and irrigation. Well, Israel has natural irrigation. No, it doesn't. Israel has like one natural river, the Jordan. And arguably, that's not even in Israel. That's like the border of Israel. So, I mean, you don't even have, you have the Jordan River that flows down into the Sea of Galilee and then into the Dead Sea, but there are no resources in so many parts of Israel, especially right there on the border of Jordan. And yet the two nations could not be more different. Why? Because one, God's people is using the resources, and in the second, they're not. They're led by people that just don't know. You can teach them all day. But the truth is that that's a different podcast. But the truth is that there's just something that retards the people that follow the path of evilness. The path of Islam leads to poverty. And so when we look at the lack of resources in Nigeria, it's not because of global warming, it's because of bad management. You put that same, let anybody else come in, let Israel come in. Let England come in. Let Canada come in. Let America come in and take over that land. And all of a sudden, you won't see a lack of resources. So when people say, oh, that Christians are not being killed because of their faith, they're being killed because of a low number of resources in the area, that is a lie. Christians are running for their lives. Christians and Muslims live in the same area. Christians and Muslims live in the same geographic location. But the Muslims are wanting to expand into the Christian land. Why? Guys, this is huge. What I'm about to say is the centerpiece of this entire podcast. And you have to know this. Islam, if you look at Nigeria is divided in the middle. Muslims to the north, Christians to the south. Guess where the violence is? It's with the Muslims in the north and where the Muslims are invading. Guess where the business is? Guess where the resources are? They are in the south with the Christians, as they always are. Guess where the freedom is? It's in the south with the Christians. Guess where the Muslims want to be? Why is this important to you? This is important for the world because Nigeria has the largest Christian population in all of Africa with more than 80 million Christians. And Nigeria is on track to be the third most populated nation in the world behind China and India. And Islam wants to control it. There are 80 million Christians in the way of the control of Nigeria. Between 1980 and 2010, both monotheistic religions of Christianity and Islam were about roughly half the population. There was probably a little bit more Christians than there were Muslims. However, since 1995, the growth rate of the Muslim population has become higher than that of the Christian population. In particular, the population growth in the northern part of the country, which is mainly Muslims, has been exploding. And the recent trends are that they are going in to take over the South because they want this populated country, the most populated country in all of Africa, the third most populated country in the world, to be Muslim. And there's a concentrated effort. Last year, the leader of Hamas, Ghazi Hamad, traveled all the way to Nigeria to meet with senior Fulani leaders. Now, if you're not familiar with the Fulani leaders, these are what we call the Fulani herdsmen. You've been listening to them and they're often called the herdsmen because people want to make this sound like an agrarian war. That this is herdsmen attacking farmers and they just want land. These are just poor herdsmen that are nomadic. So they're traveling around with their goats and their sheep and their cattle, and they just need water. Can't you just see that they're fighting for these resources because as global warming increases, their resources disappear and they're forced to go into lands that are not their own. And there they want to have just access for their animals because they are nomadic. They're not wanting to settle. This is a lie. They have the Fulani herdsmen are Islamic extremists that have the very same ideology as Boko Haram. If you're not familiar with Boko Haram, they are basically the African arm of the Islamic State. Remember ISIS that attacked in Syria and Iraq? These are the same people. Different continent, different fighters, different names, same ideology, same goals, same tactics. Now, there's a lot of people that got upset with the news agency that interviewed the leader from Hamas who traveled to Nigeria saying, oh, we shouldn't give them a platform. No, I'm super happy they gave them a platform. Why? Because we would have never known about it before. That Hamas, the leadership, is traveling to Nigeria to share with the Fulani leaders. Last year, guys, this is 2024. That they traveled there. They're in the middle of a war in Gaza, and the Hamas leaders take time out of the war to fly to Nigeria. That's an important agenda. Why? Because they're wanting to spread Islam. And in order to take over, they have to kill the Christians. This is a story that is repeated over and over and over again. Lebanon used to be a Christian country. Muslims invaded, Muslims killed the Christians, Muslims ran them out. Syria, Muslims invaded, Muslims killed the Christians, Muslims ran them out. Iraq, Muslims killed the Christians, Muslims invaded, Muslims ran them out. Egypt, Muslims invaded, Muslims killed the Christians, Muslims ran them out. Sudan, Muslims invaded, Muslims killed the Christians, Muslims ran them out. This is jihad. This is a way that Islam has been growing for generations. This is the great lie that you'll never hear anywhere else because most people are too cowardice to actually say what is actually happening. And it's not just Hamas. Guys, the more I dug, the more I found that there are other Islamic groups that are equally focused on Nigeria, one of them being Iran. Don't believe anything that I say. Look up everything that I'm sharing with you. The Islamic Movement of Nigeria, IMN. The Islamic Movement of Nigeria began running its networks really in 2020. They have roots that go back further, but they really began during the year of COVID as running their main focus in Nigeria. And the Iranian president sat down to meet with the Nigerian foreign minister right after 2021. 1 year after the start of the Islamic movement of Nigeria, which is a Shia Islamic group that sees the Islamic revolution of 1979 in Iran as their main focus. And Iran is supporting them. Not just Iran, but Iranian proxies like Hezbollah. Guys, when it comes to terrorists around the world, those that are working directly with the Fulani tribes members and the government of Nigeria is a list of the who's who of bad guys and bad actors on the world stage. And they are absolutely supporting genocide against Christians. Why? Because they are African. The Christians are African. And the Muslims assume that most Christians around the world will not care. If African Christians are dying, most Christians around the world won't even pay attention. And they've been right. I've been sharing about this for about the last 10 years, and we've gotten really no reaction, no traction with this most silent genocide of our lifetime taking place in Nigeria, with tens of thousands of Christians dying every single year because of their faith. And the world, the Christian world, I can understand if the world is silent. We don't expect anything from them, but the Christian world, shame on us. Shame on us for being silent. We have more resources in the Christian world right now than all the other religions. We have more resources at our fingertips where we can make a difference in the lives of the Nigerians, and we have chosen not to. But something is happening. This year, it is changing. The U.S. Treasury said in August of 2022 that Hezbollah was responsible for sending hundreds of thousands of dollars to the Islamic movement of Nigeria, and not a single Christian uttered a word. And this is not just about money. We're seeing Muslims from Nigeria actually being trained by fighters, Islamic fighters, that we are even seeing the founder of the Islamic the Islamic movement of Nigeria. We're seeing the founder of the Islamic movement of Nigeria, his son, going through the Revolutionary Guard training for Iran. This is coordinated. And somehow we're just seeing this in the news as being a local feud. No, it's not. It's not. The Fulani attacks against Christians are directly supported by Hamas, Iran, ISIS, Hezbollah, and even pro-Islamic movements in the US and Europe. The US and Europe are giving these guys money to go and kill Christians. For instance, did you know, I just learned about this, that when the Nigerian government put the founder of the Islamic movement of Nigeria in jail, it was the Islamic Human Rights Commission in the UK that got him out. We are supporting this. And it's being sold through, like, one of the things that is really being pushed right now is this idea of the Ruga program. It's okay if you don't know about the Ruga program. I didn't know about it until I started digging. And you may think, okay, what is the Ruga program? I'm trying not to give too much because I don't want to overwhelm our listeners with like all of the different directions this web goes through. But it's important to know that when you're hearing this crap in the news about the Christians in Nigeria not being targeted because of their faith, it's an absolute lie. Even the program that it's being sold as being a compromise. This is a way that we can help. It's a proposal that has been mainly made by the Nigerian government. It's been pushed by a lot of news sources. It's called the Ruga program. You can look this up. It was a proposal that was made to solve the main problem between farmers and herders. And like I said, because of quote unquote global warming, it's been said, well, because of global warming, there's a lack of resources. So why do the Christian farmers have to be so selfish? Why can't these nomadic Fulani herders just come in and use the water, use the land, and then keep going? Because they're nomadic. They're not going to stay. They're going to keep moving. So what is being proposed is this. Let the Christian farmers allow the herders to use their land. That's a compromise, right? If the sheep need water, the cows need water, the goats need water, and the water is on the farmer's land, what's it going to hurt, right? Christians should be nice and giving. The herders will just come on, they'll use the land and then they'll leave. This is called the Ruga program. This is a compromise. And Christian governors have agreed to it. They've bought into the program. They allowed the program to take place. This is a Trojan horse. It doesn't just give the herders access to land, it gives them the land. Because the Ruga program says, you know what? These Fulani herders, as they walk around with their herds, they don't just need water and food for their traveling convoys. Their children need schools. Their families need hospitals. Their communities need permanent water sources. Everything that the farmers have, the herdsmen also need. Not in the Muslim lands. They need them specifically from the Christian lands. Now, the North and the South are equally divided. But the Muslim lands, those can't be used. They specifically need Christian lands. The Christian farmers cannot use Muslim lands, but let's let the Muslims use the Christian lands. And not just the Christian lands. Let's let the Fulani herders build schools, hospitals, water. And then they can't do it because they're too poor. So let's make the Christians build them for them. Build schools. And when you have schools, then you have students. And when you have students, they need homes. And those homes need resources. And those resources build communities. And those communities soon become Muslim. The word for the program, Ruga, it doesn't just mean sharing. It doesn't mean a reorganization of grazing. It's actually a Fulani word that means settlement. In July of this year, an NGO, International Society for Civil Liberties and the Rule of Law, it is an NGO group. They were looking at the financing for the Fulani attackers, and what they found blew my mind. The support for the Fulani fighters that are killing Christians is directly coming from the government. And the government is enacting these laws of settlement, like the Ruga. And so the Fulani are allowed to carry rifles, knives, rounds, weapons. The Christians are not. If the Christians go and buy weapons to protect them and their families, they are immediately invaded and arrested by the government. This is on purpose. This is why we need your help. To pray for the Christians in Nigeria as they are going through one of the hardest trials in this recent time, in recent memory. This is why we are doing Christmas in Nigeria, to be a blessing to these Christians that are facing this injustice on a daily basis, that are facing extinction in their own homelands. They are facing attacks and they are specifically being targeted because of their faith. Christmas in Nigeria will allow us to bring food, oil, resources to the Christians and bless them as a Christmas gift. And for many of them, we will be able to give a short time reprieve where they can go to a safe place to celebrate Christmas with their families. Right now, we have a vision of supporting at least 500 families. And we can do that for about $30,000 US. For $30,000 US, we can support 500 families. If we raise more money, we'll support more. We will give every single penny to this effort. Everybody that donates, and we're going to give this to the people of Nigeria so that they can enjoy the greatest gift that mankind has ever given, when peace on earth was brought by God himself, when he was born in a manger to bring salvation to you and I and all mankind. That is what we as Christians celebrate every year. This is a message of love, peace, kindness, and it is one that the Muslims hate. Why? Not because the people are bad. Jesus died for the Muslims. It's that Islam is an evil spirit. And it lies to its followers, deceives them. They are living in constant deceit and despair. Only Christ can give the truth that they seek. That's why the enemy needs to kill them, to remove that testimony, to remove that message, to remove them from the land. And this Christmas, join us to be a blessing to our Christian brothers and sisters in Nigeria. May this not be the silent genocide that it's been for many years. This is the first year we've ever done anything like this. But we feel that it is imperative for us as fellow Christians to be a blessing to our brothers and sisters in Nigeria this year. Join us. Go to our website, backtojerusalem.com, and there you will find a special donate button that you can donate to Christmas in Nigeria. I want to thank you so much for downloading this podcast and for being our partners in this effort. Again, I'm Eugene Bach, coming to you live on delay from somewhere within the borders of China. God bless you.